How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all cranked up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Howard Brodie. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. He is a wonderful artist. The thing that I really love about his work, or his section of work, was he did a lot of sketches in courtrooms, but he also did a lot of wartime sketches, which are just, seeing the atrocities of war and firefights and all that, and then still being able to kind of capture that stuff and keep the reality of being there in it is just beautiful. There's a looseness to his work that's really nice while still keeping his draftsmanship superior. Just gorgeous stuff. I love the layout here and the composition here. Great silhouettes throughout. He just has this way of capturing what was going on so beautifully. And just his loose sketches and everything too. I really just love his line. I feel like he's got a great active line and kind of reminds me of a lot of Golden Age illustrators at the same time, while still he had to have worked really quickly on a lot of this stuff and get a lot of information down, and I think he just does it wonderfully. I love the way that he does vehicles and machinery and artillery. I could speak correctly, that'd be better. Just gorgeous. I hope that you guys check out more stuff from him. This was a couple sketches that were from some drawing books that he was a part of, and I just love these lines of action that go through here. Really great posing while still keeping really strong anatomy through here as well. So I urge you guys to check out more stuff from him. I'll throw some links down in the description below if you're interested, but I did want to share a quote that I was able to find from him, and he said, "Love is the heart of life and art." And I thought that was really great. We don't really talk about that too much, but I think in order to really be a good creator or artist or illustrator or animator or musician or whatever it is that you're passionate about, you have to have love. And I tend to look at things, I think, more rationally or with more thought than rather emotion is how I usually handle things. But I think you have to have this love and this passion for something if you're actually going to be good at it. When you're an animator, at least for myself, when I go out and I'm walking around, or I go to the store, or I go to a party, or any of those kind of things, what I'm doing is I love being with people, hearing people talk and all that, but I'm always looking with that illustrator or animator's eye. I'm looking for the interesting poses that are sitting there, or a way that a person's walking, or the way that their mouth moves while they're talking, or the way that they a certain expression sits on their face. And that's part of the love of the craft. And it's also about loving people and being able to realize what's great about that individual. So I think there's a real element of love that doesn't get talked about as much as it probably should in creative work. Think back to the reason why you clicked on this video. Chances are you like animation, or you're just an awesome person and you clicked here. Way to go. But chances are that came from a place of love. You saw a animated movie at one point and you're just like, wow, I love this. And then later on you maybe tried to sketch out a couple drawings from that when you were younger, and then later on you're like, well, I wonder what that's all about. And then you go on and you have to think back to that first spark of when you started out with something, and you're like, oh, I love that. There's something about it that I love. So just try and remember to keep that love alive and to infuse it into your work each and every day. So that being said, let's go ahead and get back into some animation. For today, we're continuing on with our little lip sync shot here. We got some good passes, and I feel like yesterday was a little more successful than the day before that, which is always good. I'm just going to turn off this stuff here so we're working with a lighter character here. Might even be the big frame see here. Just delete that. Okay. We're using the Malcolm rig version 2 from Anim School, and we're using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about so far, check out the links in the description below. And I haven't said this in a while, but the reason I do these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you guys and inspire you to go off and create your own unique, amazing, wonderful, creative content each and every day to take another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. I never claim to be be-all, end-all. I'm just sharing what I know and what I'm working on with you guys, and hopefully doing it in a manner where maybe you learn something either to do or not to do, or give you a different idea, or just to spark hopefully some sort of creativity, even if it's just you look at you subscribe to the channel and you see a new video from me each and every day, so you go, you know what, if that guy can do it, I can do something. I can do something creative today. I can carve out that 10 minutes to work on my own dreams. So that's the main reason. So thanks for hanging out. I think you guys are awesome. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. And now, before I ramble on too much, let's go ahead and get into some animation. So I think what the plan is for today is to break down this walk a little bit better. I think it's still really clumsy right here. So I think we'll work on that mostly. So let's start off with the feet. But before we go too far, and remember, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often. So let's start off by looking at these feet here. So where are we at here? Let's start off with that foot a little bit. Do we have for controllers here? They all just broken down even more. Alright, I guess we can do that. I was hoping it would have some foot rolls and stuff, but I guess they're individually here, so that's not going to be it. What about this one? No. Let's see. That's going to just do the whole foot, right? Okay, there we go. Well, there's our main controllers here. So I'll do a little bit of foot roll. Little goes a long way with this controller for sure, so let's bring that back down here to almost nothing. Okay, we'll zero it out there. Let's go ahead and just lock in our main keys here, so I know where I'm going with all this stuff here. And we'll delete that one. There we go. And I'll delete this one. Set that. Set that one. Actually, delete this one. Go ahead and delete that one. Set that. Again, I don't like having any keys that I don't really need here, so I'm just going to delete all of that there. There's not really anything after that. Okay, now I should be able to get in here and do a little bit better. So at this point, I want a little bit of foot roll here, and give me about 3 frames with it being flat there. And we'll zero it out again. We'll go about 3 frames before that, and key that. Bring that up. Alright. It's probably too much, but we'll scale it back. Make sure it's at 0 here. Key that one. Go a few frames before. And 0 it out there. Do a little bit here. That's probably a little too much overall, so we'll just minimize those a bit more. Make sure we keep them flat here, and we can do a little bit of variation there. Okay. And let's do a few frames in, and we'll do a little bit of rotate X. And then a few frames before, go ahead and lift it up a little bit, and then down. Actually, let's not do that there, because that's going off of this one. We'll keep it off of here. I should have done just this controller instead, but oh well, we'll stick with what we have. Because we're kind of going to have to counter animate a little bit, I guess, but that's okay. We'll just use that for our toes and our foot rolls. We'll use the rest with this controller here. And that's the kind of pitfalls you'll see when you first try out a new rig. You'll go, oh, I should have approached this rig that way or this way. So that's part of the fun of learning a new rig as well, as you learn what to do and what not to do as you play around with it a little bit more, how the rig works a little bit better with certain controllers for certain movements. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes with the other videos that I do, I tend to try and stick with a certain rig that I've used a lot, just because I'll be more familiar with a lot of the movements to it. But you don't want to get comfortable in that either. So let's look at the rotate X's here, and we'll try and balance those out a little bit more. And again, we kind of want to favor the drag rather than the lift. So bring that up and bring this down here, because I don't want these to be very obnoxiously visible steps, just kind of little scoot steps, but something a little bit more interesting than what we have right now. Okay, and then we'll look at the toes here. Let's see. Not fully on the ground there. Yeah, I'll keep it for right now, I guess, with what it is. So how do we want to approach this? I think we'll just do the toe main for right now, and then if we want to break it up further beyond that, we can. So set it there. We'll go about 6, and we'll rotate it down a little bit. Okay, maybe we want this one. Nope. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So I want that set at 0 here. Drag it down a little bit. And flat it out there. Go a couple frames before, lift it up. So we get that little bit of drag in the toe. Actually, let's push that 1 frame later so it's a little bit slower. So we get a couple frames there. And then we'll key it there. And there. And 2 frames later, flat again. Go ahead and lift it up a little bit here. Go just kind of an arbitrary middle frame here. Be a little too much, so we'll see. And then we'll hold again here at 53. And key there, 2 frames later. Key it again. Lift it up on the contact so we have the bottom of the foot hitting and then the toe. And we'll go in the middle here, drag the toes a little bit. And we'll hold it there. Drag it back a little bit. Lift it up. And give me 2 frames. And we'll flat it out. And I think that should be it. So let's just kind of frame through that a little bit. Okay, and let's also kind of minimize that a little bit more here too. It's okay, but probably a little bit less, like about 20% less than what we have it at. Okay, and now let's go to the other foot here. So we want to start off again with our foot roll here. So we're just going to go ahead and set that one, set that, set that, that one, that one, that one, that one. Go ahead and delete that. It's an extra key we don't need right now. Set that, that one. Where are we at now? I think we're at 109. So delete that one and delete that one. And I think we want to hold that. There's for some reason, a little bit of movement there, so we want to make sure that that stays flat planted on there. Set that. Okay. And we'll go ahead and delete this one. This is an extraneous frame for right now. And then all the rest we don't need. For some reason we have a key here, there, and there. Okay, we don't need those ones for right now. So we're just looking at the foot roll then for right now. So we'll go 3 frames before that, and we'll do a little bit of foot roll. Wrong way. Zero it out there, and give me a little here. And go back to 0. 3 frames before that, so I'll go 35. Key that one, and give me a little bit there. 0. And 3 frames before that, go ahead and do a little bit there. Keep inverting that for some reason. Go there. And 3 frames before that, which would be 106. Keep that. Do a little here. Bring that down. Alright, now let's look at that in our graph editor here. And let's see. Foot roll. I think we want to delete that. So that plants at the right spot here. Okay, and let's also just bring this down to a bit more of a minimum. And let's look through that, see how that feels. Maybe a little bit less here. And let's kind of compare the two and find a good balance between the two sides. So I can tell that this foot's a little bit more exaggerated than the other one. So I kind of want to find a good middle ground, because you can see that first one is way less. And I feel like it needs to be a little more exaggerated than that. And this one's maybe a little too much, so we'll pull this one back a little bit. It doesn't have to be exactly even, and we'll just throw in a little more variety here. Okay. And now let's look at that toe controller. And let's see. Set it there. Set there. Set 2 frames later. So we'll drag it down a little bit there. Oh, Is this not the right one? Is this the one? Nope. Which one do we want here? Come on. I love that this rig has so many controllers. It is really nice because then we can get into more fun animation, but it's about finding which ones you want to use and using them at the right time for right now. So let's make sure we keep that flatted out there. We'll drag it a little bit here. Lift it up a little bit and go 2 frames later, and we'll zero it out. Okay. And key it there. And here, and 2 frames later. There. And I'll go ahead and lift that back up a little bit more and drag it down. And we want to key it there. And key it there. And there. We'll lift that up. And we'll go ahead and drag that down. That's probably a little too over exaggerated, but we'll get there. And we'll keep it flat on the ground here. And delete that one. And keep that one. Go 2 frames later. Key it again. Lift it up. And we'll go ahead and drag it down. Actually, maybe there. It's probably a little over exaggerated. And we'll get rid of this key and that key. Let's look in our graph editor and kind of balance that out a little better. So we want to exaggerate downs, I think, a little bit more, and taper in the ups. So let's kind of frame through that and see how that works. One thing I might do is raise the steps up a little bit higher. And look at the rotate X's and exaggerate those a little bit more. Just so we can have a little bit more foot movement. Let's see that now. Oh, you know what? I think I did rotate X. Did I just not even do that yet? Maybe that's why. Yeah, all I really did was the foot and the toe. I haven't done rotate on here, so that's okay. So I'll go ahead and bring that back here, up there, bring it back here, and up there, and drag it back a little bit here, and up there, drag it back, and up there. Let's compare the two so we have a little bit better or more even rotations here. Okay, there we go. Grabbing the right ones here. Okay, so try and even those out a little bit more here. And I think we'll kind of taper them off a little towards the end too, just since that's kind of what we did with the height of these ones. So I'll increase these a little bit more. Okay. And let's go ahead and look at that and see if we still have any real big issues here. let's do a play blast and just take a look at those feet. Alright, I think the feet are okay for now, but we need to focus on the hips a little bit more. I think they're a little too far back for a lot of the walk too, so I need to push them forward a little bit more and do a little more up and down on there for sure. And I'll just keep tweaking those hips here. So I feel already like the up and down in those steps just isn't enough, so let's go ahead and crank that up a little bit more. And tone down a little bit more of the side to side. We've got a little bit of kind of wobbliness to it, or sway that I don't necessarily like, so we'll bring that back down a little bit more. Try and even it out a little bit more too here. Okay, that's just going to look from this angle. Another thing too, I think I want to push the knees out a little bit more here. Okay, we do want to make sure that we keep them going a little bit more, so they kind of stay about the same. Okay, let's do another play. Alright, it's okay, but I think we need to start doing a little bit of counter animating in the chest through that area so that it's not so stiff. So let's do that for a while. So let's look at, I'll start from the beginning here. Which one is our top chest controller here? It was this one. I think it's those three we were using, right? Okay. Yeah, let's grab this one. And we'll just look at the rotate Ys for right now. And we'll need one here. So we're just kind of doing a timing for right now. We're not really posing it out, but we're just figuring out where we can offset the rotate that we did on the hips into the chest here. And we'll set that one. And this one. And that there. And we're just really doing the body mechanics for the walk right now. Nothing super for in our posing or anything. Go back to unselect the hips here, and we'll just look at those rotate Ys where we had the keys in there. Hold on here. Did not get all of them. This one, this one, this one, and this one, right? And just get those rotate Ys. Alright. So do a little bit that way. this way. And this one, bring that there. And here, do a little bit more this way. And I think that's kind of where we tapered everything off a little bit more, because the rest of the walk isn't going to be that much body mechanic heavy for the rest of the shot. So let's see how that fares. You see there's a little bit of sway there. I think we'll probably need another one here. It's just a little bit as well. I'll just add a little bit there. Okay, now let's go through and just look at the rotate Z's here. Back to getting our timing here. Again, all we want is just the rotate Z's. So key one here where we have a key already. And the reason I'm not just keying it all attributes there is I don't want to get chunkiness in my other attributes while I'm doing this. So I'm just sticking to one channel here and approaching those each one at a time. And this is more of a body mechanics focus than an acting focus for this kind of a pass, because we already kind of have an overlaid acting beat from yesterday that we did, and this is kind of getting the underlying body mechanics working for letting that stuff be a little more accurate to the movement. And bring it here, keep that one, and there, keep that one. Okay, and I think we have all the info we need from that, so let's get back into it. So that's going to need to go this way a little bit. And then the other way a little bit. And then this way a little bit. And that way a little bit. Again, this is just kind of counter animating what we did on the tilt of the hips here. And a little bit here. And a little bit there. Let's see how that looks. Okay, and let's do a play blast and see if that feels a little bit looser on the chest. Alright, it's a little bit better, but I think it needs a little bit of toning down on the first little bit and a little bit more towards the end. So let's look at rotate Y's here. Bring that back a little bit more, and then have a little bit more towards the end here. It's a little more even. Might be the rotate Z's though. Let's balance those out a little bit better. Seems like it's just actually this rotate Y that's sticking out. So maybe that one needs to be pulled in a little bit more. Reined in just a little bit more. And let's try to balance those out a little bit better here. Alright, and still think we could use a little more up and down on the movement here, so let's push that a little bit further. I know, scale it back if we don't like it. Alright, it's a little better. It feels a little more natural. Still think those feet feel kind of funky, so maybe a little more foot roll. Let's try that. Just feel a little too stiff, so let's go grab both of those and look at that foot roll. And we'll accentuate that a little bit more. You just feel so flat-footed, so do a little bit more of that. And maybe a little bit of like a foot roll the other way. Here on the other side. Maybe like one frame before we do that. And then we flat it out there. Now let's stick with just doing it with rotate instead. So on those rotations, it just feels like there's not enough, since they're very long, like they kind of stick out, that there's not a lot of change of shape there. Let's try and accentuate that a little bit more. Side as well. Oh. All right, so let's do another play. Okay, there's one thing that's kind of sticking out now. This is more of a timing thing because I kind of want that beat to hit about 3 frames sooner. So let's tweak our timing a little bit on there. Again, let's save our file one more. Okay, remember it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often. Let's turn our audio track off, and then I think I wanted this to hit a couple of frames sooner as well. So let's go back here, make sure we grab everything there except for we don't want the hip controller. That one. Okay. So we can pretty much take everything from 60, cut about 3 frames from there, I think is where we're going to have to do it here. I'm sure we'll have to retime that a little bit more. And we'll give another frame. From here to there. See if that time. Alright, it's working a little better for the part that we wanted it to work better for, but we're going to have to throw in a couple more frames in a different spot because that spot's too quick. So let's see. Like that, that's too quick. But I think for the other second part where he's kind of pointing back and forth, that works a little better. So what we need now is to, I think it's like 56, like 62 to 66. We need a few more frames there, so okay, let's key that one. And let's key 58, and we'll kind of just delete the stuff in between. To redo some of the tilt on the chest, but that's okay. Okay, that should give us enough. Alright, so I paused that for a little bit longer, probably like 20 minutes or so. I just moved a couple of frames around, just trying to get that timing right, and that's a lot of play blasting, adjust a frame, play blast, adjust a frame. So I didn't know if that would translate so well to doing on video, but I think I've got a timing that works a little better. Still kept most of what we had there. I'm gonna have to probably retool the chest a little bit for how it moves during the walk, but the timing of the main movement works a lot better. So let's go ahead and watch that now. So we have the timing actually work with the audio a little bit better. I'm sure I'll probably retool it even more. And we're going to have to break down, you know, so that everything's not hitting at the same frame, but the whole main beats are finally like hitting with the audio a little bit better. Might be a little too fast on how it gets back into there, so I might give it one more frame, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back into sharpening up the movement of the chest here, and let's go ahead and okay, great. Now let's get back into looking at the chest here. So I'm going to turn the sound off now that we have that timing working a little bit better. And we're going to have to clean up some of this grit that got put in there. So let's just look at the rotate Ys again through everything and just try and make sure that we don't have any other, because see, we've got a couple of things like this now that just don't work so well. So we want to try and keep just our rotates on the chest and the spine and the hips working together. So we've got this one, that's fine. It's fine through there. This seems like we should need one here. Let's just look at the body here. Nope. So that means the chest, we don't need the rotate Y there. It's not right. just the chest here. Now we have our next key, which is going to be there. So bring that down here. And I think it's probably this one that's our next contact, right? Actually be here. And then where's our next one? Right here. So delete that key. And I think we have it right here. There. We'll do another one there. Okay, so we cleaned up all those rotate Ys, so those should work a little bit better. Get rid of some of that grit in there. And it's working, should work a little bit better with our timing. And let's take a look back at those rotate Zs. Okay, because see, when retiming stuff, you kind of build a wall. So let's say you have 10 frames that you want to retime, and you've got a key on 3 and 6, and you need to move that over 2 frames. So you key off what you have at 3 and you key off what you have at 6. So all the attributes on those stay the same, and then you can just time slider adjust them forward and back, whatever you need. But chances are when you do that, some of your polish, because you're keying all attributes, isn't going to be as good. So we have a couple of these extraneous keys here that kind of undid a little bit of what we were doing before. So we want to just clean that up. So start off here. This is what we want to match up. So we want to get rid of this one here. Don't need that key. This one should go down there. We don't need this key. Move this one over there, and that should go up a little bit more. We don't need this key. We don't need those. We don't need that. I think that might be off one frame. No, let's see. No, that's right frame. Okay. And don't think we need that one either. So that should clean that up a little bit better too. It's just trying to keep good hygiene with all of your splines and everything too, so that there's not all that grit in there. Okay, and then I believe on this arm too, there's some grit in here. So let's look at everything there. And what I mean by grit is you'll see stuff like these little warbles and everything in there. Those shouldn't be there if we're doing it right. So let's actually just stick with the arm for right now. So something like this would be what I consider like grit. It jerks our curve a little bit, so it'll translate like in a move that would normally be something like this, it'll be like in the way. So we want to try and clean that up as much as we can. Even this one is probably going to give us a little bit of grit there. But you kind of, even when you're retiming things, you can kind of see where you wanted that arc to go. So you just try to avoid anything that's going to give any more trouble to where you wanted to go with that. So that should clean that up a little bit more. And again, this isn't necessarily polished yet. We're still going to go through and track our arcs and everything, but this is just trying to remove anything that might be kind of noticeable right now, which I'm sure we'll have some here too. Let's see. It's actually not too bad, but you see stuff like this, you'd need to go in and clean that up because that's just not pretty. Nobody wants to see that. So do something more like that. That's probably what we're going for. this a little more of a polished curve overall. Let's look at the hand here. Again, since we had so much of that stuff that went in on ones, I'm sure there's going to be some jankiness in here. So I want to try and make that a little bit cleaner for right now. And if we want to go back in and tweak this stuff, we definitely can, but just trying to clean it up so there's not as many keys to do the same stuff here. We're still getting the same effect really throughout here. And I'm sure we'll go through and retweak all this stuff in a little bit, but just trying to clean up while you work. If you try and work fairly clean, it makes stuff a little bit easier. Let's see how we're doing on time. Still got a little bit more time. Let's do another play blast and just see if we can do any other quick things in the last few. Alright, I think that works a lot better. We don't have that grit that was in the arm, and the chest doesn't have some rotates that aren't working the way they're supposed to. So let's watch it again. I think the last thing that we'll do together today is try and clean up that rotate or that translate Z a little bit more. So we'll turn our sound off here. Feels like it's fine there. Maybe a little bit more forward here. There as well. Again, it's not totally off, but just seems like there's a couple places where it's not as polished as it could be. That's okay. This seems like it needs to be a little bit further ahead here. That. And same here, this should be a little bit further ahead. Trying to simplify this curve as much as I can too, so that it's not full of too many keys that aren't going to do anything for us. A little more balance there. It's just a slight kind of tweak forward here. And I think I universally maybe want to push the hips up a little bit more too. So there's a little more straight to them. And maybe exaggerate the up and down a little bit more. Let's do a play blast on that. Alright, it's okay. It still needs some more work, but we're still working on this thing, so we get a little bit more each and every day. I think the timing overall works better with the audio track. Still needs some tweaking and everything there, and I feel like the walk is a little bit. Need to add a little more weight to it. So we'll get there. It just feels a little. I delayed the up and downs on the hips a couple of frames. So we'll see. Maybe I'll retweak that a little bit more. But I think it's getting there. Still got a ways to go, but let's go ahead and look back at where we started. We're looking at the beautiful work of Howard Brodie, and he said, "Love is the heart of life and art." I don't think that gets pushed enough. You gotta love what it is that you do. Otherwise, why are you doing it, And really try and infuse the love and the passion that you have for whatever it is, too. I look through... I'm always got Twitter on in the background or anything, and I always try and follow any people whose work that I really like, and throw me a follow, too. If you guys are on Twitter or you want me to follow you, send me a message or anything. I'm happy to do that, too, because I love just seeing people's creativity, however it is, in whatever medium it is, too. But I find that the artists that I like infuse the things that they love into their work, so if you really like gorillas and pineapples, put that into your work, have a whole comic strip about the pineapple gorillas, and they all collect pineapples and live inside a giant pineapple and ride in a pineapple car, or whatever it is. You get the idea. Infuse the things that you love into your work, and I think it makes it more unique and more you, and gives that extra sense of personality, and it's going to cause you to want to make that stuff because it's stuff that you love, and it doesn't feel so much like a chore, like a burden, or like it's a struggle. It's just, there's that sense of playfulness and love in your work, and people will glom onto that and want to see more from your stuff. So thanks for all the likes and subscribes. Thanks for hanging out with me and sharing some time together. I hope you guys carve out some time in your day to work on your own dreams. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I urge you guys to do that. Even if you never watch another video ever again, maybe you'll remember this conversation. You'll remember that there's going to be an upload each and every day, and it'll remind you when you look in your subscription feed here to work on your own dreams, and to never let a day go by that you don't try and take another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. And I think that'll wrap it up for today. You guys are awesome. Remember, if you're watching this, you are the creative future, so go out there and make something. And that's going to wrap it up. So we will see you for some more animation, some more imagination, some more creativity, and some more just fun and filling our life and our art with love together. Thanks a lot.